You Freaka fans, get over here! That is, of course, assuming we have fans. We're
the Freaka fans!
The Freaka fans, yeah. That was shallow, cheap, and based solely on ego, but hey, it works for me.
And me.
I'm Matthew Puetz.
I'm Andrew Felson.
We are the Freakacast.
The Freakacast! Gas.
You know, I remember one time, broke my arm when I was, I think, 6 or 7 years old. Had a cast.
I have never worn a cast.
It was not a fun experience. So any of you that have ever broken a bone and had a cast, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've had facial injuries. But that
facial injuries, that's very an interesting way of describing that.
Yeah, a broken nose.
Okay. That sounds much cooler than facial injuries. Like, yeah. I cut myself shaving.
I've broken my nose, but I've never broken anything else, so I've never worn a cast.
Yeah. Did you not have a nose cast?
No, they don't make those. It's sort of
just have to hope that nobody touches you in the nose?
Pretty much.
Okay.
It's sort of, hey, if it's broken, it's kind of like there until they set it.
Man, that sucks.
Or in my case, until they have surgery.
Yeah.
To fix it.
All right, what a drag.
Yeah. Speaking of injuries, we're talking about Mortal Kombat today.
Yeah. There were lots of injuries and fatalities and friendships. Oddly enough.
Couldn't have had a better segue unless I was George W. Bush. In which case I would have fallen off it.
You know, the funny part is I think we've stayed on track so far better than him. But that's besides the point.
That's our political humor for today.
Yeah. And that's all we'll ever do, because that's just not a topic we need to discuss on here.
Yes. Anyway, so, as you may have noticed, we are the Freakacast.
Yay!
And Mortal Kombat will be on the topic today. Fun stuff.
Yeah, following up our episode on Power Rangers. We kind of felt like we're in the fighting mood. We're going to stay there for a little bit.
Yeah. Let's follow up with some guys who actually do have superpowers. Kind of, sort of, maybe.
Well, they at least have more stuff than just put their clothes on.
Right.
In fact, we never actually see them put their clothes on. They just stay in their same clothes all the time, which makes you wonder, they might be pretty smelly.
Or in some cases, lack thereof.
Yeah. That's true.
So before we get to the fun stuff, let's get the other stuff out of the way, such as find us on the web at afelson1.wordpress.com. That is afelson1.wordpress.com. Also look us up on iTunes. We are under Andrew's Brain or the Freakacast. Also, if you have mobile technology such as an iPhone or an iTouch or...
Well, basically, if you live in the 21st century, you're going to have some device that you can find the Stitcher app on.
Right. So Stitcher is an app, a podcast app. We are on that as well. And the nice thing about that is it also lumps together similar podcasts together. So,
and it's free.
And both iTunes and Stitcher work in such that way that newer episodes bump the older episodes off.
Yeah, I was kind of bummed about that. But, at least you can find us.
So you can find us on that and like us on that. Like us on Facebook, because we do have a Facebook page.
A Facebook page?
Yes, a Facebook page.
It's not a fake page. It's a real page.
Even better if it was a Facebook page.
It tells you how you're going to die.
Right. I wonder if anyone's made Fatebook the website. Fatebook.com. We should sit on that.
We should. Somebody should create that.
If it isn't already.
Just for fun.
That's called cyber squatting, where people just think up random names, put it in .com, see if it's there. If it isn't, they buy it and then wait for someone who wants it. Some people make a lot of money that way.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, well, I've got better things to do than that.
So anyway, if you want to hear our older episodes, like episode 1 about when we talk about Freakazoid at length, and episodes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Batman and Superman and
Mario and Mega Man, Lego.
Yeah.
All that stuff, go on the website, the WordPress site, because there is a section just for the podcast, so you can listen to all our old episodes, so they are there. Also want to give a major shout-out to songstourpants2.com. So yeah, look him up. He also has iTunes. You can buy some of his songs. Most of his songs are free, though, on his own site.
You can buy our theme song.
You can buy our theme song or get it for free.
You can have the Freakacast theme song at your disposal at any time you want. I mean, really, how awesome is that?
Indeed. And also, look him up on YouTube. He's got a lot of cool videos.
Mm-hmm. That he does.
Speaking of videos, I want to also plug newgrounds.com, mostly because that's where I'd gotten some audio from. They do have an audio portal. They have a lot of cool stuff. A lot of independent artists go and make it, and it's also royalty-free. And they just had a redesign, so their whole site's all looking really cool now.
Do you find that it is a positive upgrade?
It looks really good, and they've added, I think, some new features.
Well, I mean, it looks new, but I mean, is the organization of it the same, or do you have to learn how to find stuff again?
The setup is a little different than what it's used to.
Okay.
But it's not that hard to figure it out. It's still really user-friendly.
Okay.
And like I said, I mean, it's all user upload, so all fan-created stuff. So it's a lot of Flash animation, a lot of Flash games, a lot of music, a lot of artwork. It's a site I go to regularly. I always find new stuff, so I always like to plug Newgrounds just because it's a really good site. And, of course, I know you like to plug things like, Batman on film because there's always great stuff.
Yeah, in fact, they just had some recently released images of some of the Movie Masters action figures. It's kind of like the ones that I have. They're like the, not 12-inch, but I think they're like a good 6 inches.
Mm-hmm.
And, nowadays, toy companies have realized that, yes, we can make money on the regular action figures for kids, but some of the more adult collectors, they want something that is still an action figure, but it's a little bit better quality, it's a little bigger. And the Movie Masters is a good lineup. They've been doing this for other stuff, like I know the Avengers have a Movie Masters lineup coming out. But some of the images of, for instance, the new Catwoman look, you get a better idea of how it's going to function. It's really cool. It's like her ears are created when her goggles flip up.
Uh-huh.
And what's really neat is at first people are like, oh, this doesn't really look like Catwoman because there's that, but it looks very much like, and it does seem like a strange place to pull from, but it looks very much like the Catwoman costume from the 60s show. Which, that was very, I mean, oddly enough, in that show, characterization of Catwoman was very true to the source material. And it's also a very iconic look because people are very familiar with that. So I'll be curious to see how that fits into the movie. But just the fact that you can tell a little bit more of the look of the character from the figure is pretty neat. Shows how much care and time they go into that product. But also want to plug modernmythmedia.com. It's a great place for any other comic book needs other than Batman. They do a really good job of having different types of reviews, and they've got their own podcast. They do a good job with that. But I also want to plug two guys who have a YouTube channel. It's just some random guy who we know as the Marvel vs. DC, or I'm a Marvel, I'm a DC guy. He's always got new videos coming out, and he does a really great job of that, especially since it's pretty much just him. Writing it, making it, doing the voices, everything. So I give him a lot of credit for that. And also a guy who does a really amazing voice work. His name is Lord Jazor. Most famously, he did the Mark Hamill Joker voice reading Heath Ledger Joker lines, which just made it even creepier and more awesome. So you can check those both out on YouTube. And check out our Freak Out Entertainment page on Facebook.
Indeed, because if you haven't seen already, we posted the Spider-Man trailer.
Yes, which is amazing in 3D. Like, I must say, this whole 3D thing is, it's definitely going to be something that's going to stay. I see that from what I've seen. Oh, by the way, if you haven't seen the episode 1, The Phantom Menace in 3D, go see it, even if you're not a big fan of the movie. Because to see a Star Wars movie in the theater with an audience is an experience in itself. But to see it in 3D, it really adds to the film. The pod race is amazing in 3D. It really makes you feel like you're there. It really does feel like this was not transferred to 3D, like it was shot in 3D. And that's the way to go with it. And It's just an amazing experience. And I see that happening now with a lot of movies. They're finally realizing, oh, if we actually do this right, it can add something to the movie instead of detract from it.
Well, you can say what you will about, the prequels and their actual writing, but generally, if it's from Lucasfilm, they tend to take care with what they release.
Yes.
So I wouldn't doubt that the 3D would be good.
Yes.
So I was not doubting on that one.
Well, no, but I mean, I just saw it the other night, so I'm still pretty hyped up on it.
Though I will admit, even though I'm not that big on 3D, I don't really care. I am interested to see Spider-Man in 3D because that lends itself to 3D quite a bit.
And seeing the trailer in 3D, you're like, I can't wait to see this thing in 3D.
I know. What's funny is
the thing is, after seeing the trailer in both 2D and 3D, it's like I don't know if I can watch this in 2D anymore. It's just not as good.
What's funny is you were a while ago you were saying you were pumped for the Avengers, but now you're like, I'm pumped for Spider-Man.
You know what it is? It's because with Avengers, you get a feeling that with Avengers, that's going to be a fun movie.
Yeah.
But with Spider-Man, you get the feeling kind of like, wow, this is going to have a lot of weight to it. Like, there's going to be a lot of drama, but also a lot of fun. And, when he's sitting there going, seriously, you think I'm a cop dressed in a skin-tight blue and red outfit? I mean, it's got the humor factor that was there to some extent in the Sam Raimi series, but not as much. But it reminds me more of the animated series, where Spider-Man was a lot more humorous and that sort of thing.
Well, he's always been more of a wisecracking.
He has, but that was one thing. I didn't really notice it too much from the previous movies, but there were a lot of people online that were saying, oh, they weren't as... Spider-Man wasn't making the witty quips as he usually does and that sort of thing. And seeing the way that the new one's being taken care of, it's like, yeah. Plus, Andrew Garfield has been... I don't know if you saw the video of him going to Comic-Con dressed in a Spider-Man costume, and he wasn't when he was at the panel he didn't come on stage like everybody else. He came in dressed in a Spider-Man costume and went up to the microphone as a fan and introduced himself that way.
Cool.
And it was like he's just shown how much of a fan and how much respect he has for the character, and you're like, I don't care if the movie is horrible. Like, he's going to be the best part of it no matter what. Because you can tell just by the reverence he has for this.
I was like, hey, even if the rest of the movie stinks, you tried.
and he's already said, he's like, look, I'm not there to say that I'm better or anything else. I want to do this, I want to do the best job I can, and I want to take it with as much seriousness and give people like me the Spider-Man film we want to see. He's making it for himself just as much as he is the fans, because he is a fan. And when you kind of have that, it's like, you don't think the guy's going to do you wrong. At least you hope not.
I mean,
because he's one of us, so you really don't feel like he could do too much to it, So
right. Well, without getting hopes up too much, it does look promising.
It does. If nothing else, I like the fact that it has a different tone to it from the previous movies. I like the fact that it's clearly different. Although I will say, when we saw episode 1 the other night with mostly kids, but that just made it more enjoyable, quite honestly. when that Spider-Man trailer came up and a bunch of kids are going, oh, cool, Spider-Man! It's like, that just gets me more amped up for it, just because it's like, you don't hear that too often.
Well, true, but also it's like I said, make a Spider-Man movie. They'll go to it.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about if you're going to make your money back. They'll go see Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because, the one that we all don't like made a ton of money still.
Yeah.
They'll go see Spider-Man.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, you say we all don't like, but there are people out there who do like Spider-Man.
I know that. I'm just saying, for the most part.
The fans, the Spider-Man fans,
yes,
did not care for it. However, the mainstream audience did, clearly by the box office numbers.
Yes, but as we know, we can't judge a movie by its box office. Batman and Robin.
Well, we don't really know how that would... Well, then again, Dark Knight did $1 billion, so...
This is true. I'm just saying, you can't always judge it by its box.
No.
Though sometimes you can.
But in the case of Batman and Robin, it's like you said. You make a Batman movie, they'll go see it.
Yes.
So, however, as a segue, the really cool thing was when they finally had superheroes fighting Mortal Kombat characters.
Yes, indeed. Which we will talk about.
We will talk about.
A little bit, though.
But first we have to start off with how this thing got started. So,
round 1.
Fight!
Dun, 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 dun. Sorry, it's a good song.
It is.
Even though it's old and kind of techno-y.
I like the fact that it's techno. I like some techno now and then. So
It's a good song to actually work out to and do stuff.
And oddly enough, I never had a wrestling match with that song playing in the background. That would have been awesome.
So, Mortal Kombat, the game, the thing that started it all, was originally an arcade game developed by Midway in 1992.
All right, that sounds about right from what my memory lends me to, early 90s.
And originally they wanted to create a fighting game based on Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Wait, what?
I don't know why, they just did.
Jean-Claude Van Damme, he wanted them to make a fighting game about him, or they wanted to make a fighting game about him?
Kind of both.
Okay.
From what I gather, because reports now are kind of sketchy, because from what I've...
Some gets lost in translation, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, plus I think Van Damme keeps changing his story on certain things. So you're like, well, we're not really sure.
The elusive Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Why won't you stay gone away, Jean-Claude Van Damme? Sorry, why don't you make a bad Street Fighter movie?
Well, no. There's still Bloodsport. You can still go back and watch Bloodsport and be like, okay, you've redeemed yourself.
Yeah. Bloodsport's okay. Most of it else, nah.
Well, Bloodsport's the classic Jean-Claude Van Damme movie.
So anyway, they decided, there's a legit fighting star, Jean-Claude Van Damme. He'd be perfect to have a game where he goes around beating up bad guys in a fighting game. So they're
okay, that makes sense.
So
so they were using his star popularity.
So they decided they would take the idea of having martial arts be the focus of the game, where that's the whole point of it, because that's what Jean-Claude Van Damme is known for.
Okay.
But it just didn't work out, where the whole plans of it fell through and it got scrapped. But the guys who we're talking about, it's Ed Boon, John Tobias,
all right,
John Vogel,
all right,
and Dan Forden, who is the Toasty guy. They were all together, brainstorming. It's like, we have all these great ideas, but Jean-Claude Van Damme's kind of out, but we still have all this artwork and stuff we can use.
Yeah.
Let's just do it anyway.
Okay.
And so they just retooled it and came up with, a brand new plot.
Wait, there was a plot?
I don't know if there was an original plot to it other than Jean-Claude beats up people.
Okay.
For something. It was changed. Which we'll talk about that later. And so they just went ahead and did it. And what also sets this game apart, other than the violence, which we'll talk about, is the fact that...
Oh, you mean the red sweat?
Well, before we even get to that...
But anyway, I'm jumping ahead.
We're jumping ahead, is the fact that this is one of the first games to use digitized actors and later on motion capture instead of...
Wait, what?
Hand-drawn sprites for their on-screen characters. So the characters...
Pretend I don't know what that means.
I'm going to. So when you turn on the game and you select Liu Kang, for example,
right?
Instead of it being a computer-drawn cartoon, you actually get a digitized actor that they actually photographed a live person doing all the moves.
Huh.
And actually, they photographed and kind of did all that and digitized it and made it into the game. So that's why the graphics...
So this is kind of like... This is like the Predator... No, not Predator. Yeah, the predecessor to CG and computer animation. To an extent. To an extent.
I mean, in reality...
I mean, obviously it predates it by a number of years, but...
Well, in reality, it's the predecessor and then later the innovator of live-action capture.
Okay.
Where, like, if you have something like the movie Avatar, where they're covered in the suits, and you film them that way, and they get transferred to the computer, and the computer logs all their movements. That's kind of where this idea spawns from.
Okay.
I don't know if they actually invented it.
Well, this is a lot more groundbreaking than I thought it was.
That's why Mortal Kombat, whether you love it or hate it, is a groundbreaking game.
Yeah.
When you look at Street Fighter versus Mortal Kombat.
Right.
Take aside the fact that the violence and the dynamics of the game, then just look at the characters themselves and the artwork. Yeah, and when you look at it, you say...
Street Fighter is much more cartoony.
Street Fighter is far more cartoony. When you look at Mortal Kombat, you get a more gritty, realistic-looking backgrounds even and characters. So those
backgrounds were awesome.
So the amount of art and detail that went into the game was groundbreaking in and of itself, and the fact that they pushed the limits of every system they were working with.
Which system did... I know I'm kind of sidetracked. The first Mortal Kombat game, which system that did that initially come out for?
It debuted for both the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis.
Okay.
So it went to both the two major home consoles.
Super Nintendo was 16-bit, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It would never have been able, the Nintendo would never have been able to handle it.
No. I just wanted to make sure I had my numbers right. Because I mean, they did a lot with 8 bits for what they could do, but 16 bits, it's twice as much capacity, memory, that sort of thing. There's a whole lot more you can do. So, especially when you're trying to like digitizing actors, which it's still magic to me even now.
Yeah. So I mean, that's why when you look at the game, it's so much like it has that gritty feel, but also like when you look at the very first game, it has a almost photogenic look. And that's why. So they actually took the time and detail to photograph and digitize all of those stances, the moves, every bit of movement was all painstakingly transferred into the game.
Yeah.
So that's why when you play it, that's why it has such a great feel to it, and that's why it looks so good. And they continue that up until, they still kind of do that. They just use motion capture instead of that hand-drawn digitization. So that's why in the later games, yes, it looks a little bit more cartoony, but the movements are still really slick.
Right. Well, that makes sense if you're going to go through the effort of making a game like that. And that's just amazes me, the amount of care they went into. Just they actually go through the effort of digitizing actors just for a video game. Now, I'm sure that had to have seemed kind of silly to somebody at the time.
Maybe. But, I mean, the thing is, it paid off because it's still a bankable franchise, and when you still go back and play the old games, they're still really fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
I mean granted, like, it would have been fun.
We pulled out your Super Nintendo not too long ago, me and Hunter, and played it, and it was like we were there again in middle school playing Mortal Kombat. It's
sort of like, with all this new stuff, it's still great to just go back and be like, doesn't have to really change from this. It's still great.
Back down B meant something at that time.
Yeah.
It's bad. That's one of those things. I was thinking about it earlier today for some reason, like with the Kinect and all this stuff. It's like, you know what? I just feel like saying, you know what? I want to go back to a time where back down B meant something.
Yeah. And the thing is, I love the Wii, but there's something really nice to just be able to have a controller that's hooked up to the console and just hit buttons.
Yeah.
I like that.
Although I have to admit, if they do make a Mortal Kombat, I'm holding out. If the Kinect comes out, or one of these consoles where you do the movements and it appears on screen, where it is Mortal Kombat and everything you do ends up on screen, I'm buying that system. Because this is one of those things, as much as I've enjoyed playing the game for so many years, I want my character to get up faster after he gets knocked down. And it's like, just get up. I just want to reach inside the screen and smack, get your butt up, get moving. You're not doing yourself a favor.
And it is kind of fun / ironic that of the games that I really like, this is one of the few that you also really like.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things where it has no plot.
I mean, it does and it doesn't.
Okay, for me, it has no plot.
True, yes.
It's pick a guy
and fight.
And that's what I like about it, because you got 3 rounds for the fight, for the most part, and you're done, and you can pick new characters. So for somebody like me that was not able to sit there for long periods of time and go through levels and this sort of stuff, this was great. And I didn't have my own game console, so when I would go to one of my friend's Hunter's house, this is what we would play. Oddly enough, we would play this game for hours. How I lasted that long, I'll never know.
Yes.
I think it's because Hunter kept beating me, and so I just made it my mission to beat him. It's just, I don't know, it was one of those things that just when you find something that's actually fun, yeah,
it's hard to be like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. I mean, it's kind of ironic where these past few times, you actually want to be like, hey, Andrew, let's play Batman Lego. And like, okay, I'm not going to argue this.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't happen often, but when it does, I'll let you know.
And speaking of gameplay and fighting games,
yes,
we briefly mentioned Street Fighter and how that was certainly a great game.
Mm-hmm.
Mortal Kombat upped the ante for fighting games substantially because...
So Mortal Kombat was not the first fighting game?
No.
Okay.
There have been fighting games prior.
What was the very first fighting game?
I don't know. The concept of fighting games has been around.
Okay. So it was not something new.
No. They've had variations of it even on the Nintendo.
Okay.
So, yeah. I mean, Street Fighter 2 predates Mortal Kombat by a few years. So the idea of a fighting game
was nothing new.
Was not new. but the direction that it took, that Mortal Kombat did, up the ante, also changed gaming forever.
No,
not just fighting games, but gaming.
Okay.
Period.
And this wasn't just the digitized actors?
No, this was the fact that it upped the violence aspect of it.
Or as they like to call the red sweat.
The red sweat. I mean, regardless of red sweat, the fact that you actually gruesomely killed your foes at the end
By
via fatality.
slicing their heads off, or the infamous Toasty where Scorpion pulls off the hood and flames shoot out of his mouth and he lights the guy on fire.
Right, or if you're somewhere where you deep freeze them and shatter them.
That one was awesome, though.
Liu Kang turns into a dragon and eats you.
The guys, yeah.
Or drops a gaming console on you.
Although I have to say, like, looking back at the way those were done, it's like, these are kind of cheesy. Like, these don't seem as gruesome as I remember them.
Certainly not at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time it did.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say.
Now it's certainly not.
I think we've been exposed to far worse things this is nothing. This is kind of cheesy.
Of course. So the idea of, it got so much attention to the fact that it included blood. Which was taboo at the time.
Which is also part of the reason I didn't have it, because I wasn't allowed to have it.
And they included gory violence and killing your opponents in many ways.
Right.
So it just upped the violence aspect and upped the idea of, hey, there's so much more you can do to this game other than a couple moves.
Yeah.
Because the idea of special moves was also not new.
Oh, it wasn't?
No, because again, look at Street Fighter.
Oh,
They had guys throwing fireballs and whatever else have you. So,
but this was the first game to incorporate that you have. Let me kind of rephrase this. Typically in the game, you'd have your first round, you fight, you get a winner. You have your second round, you get a winner. If that winner was the same person as the first round, then they would give you that moment at the end to do your special move, whether it was a fatality, barbarity, or friendship, or whatever, right?
Right.
So that was the first time that concept was new.
Yes.
Okay.
So
once again, giving a whole new dynamic to the gameplay, thus reinventing the fighting game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And, in the early 90s, this was still the heyday of the actual arcade. So
I'm just going to go with you on this one.
I know you weren't really there for it, but, and I certainly wasn't like I was hanging around an arcade all the time, but this was one of the ones that was in every arcade around the country and probably around the world, where it was just that big. So this is one of those ones like the Ninja Turtle game where it was just a quartered making machine.
Yeah.
And so naturally they ported it to the home consoles.
Now you got me thinking, what if they made Ninja Turtles cross with Mortal Kombat?
It would be interesting.
Mortal Turtles or Ninja Combat or something like that.
Turtle Combat?
Ooh, I like that. Turtle Combat.
Oddly enough, they did make a Ninja Turtle fighting game.
Oh, I'm not surprised. Although, I guess now that I think it would be kind of like my turtle outfit I made for Dragon Con.
Yeah.
But better looking. Yes, so, if you want to see Ninja Turtles fight Mortal Kombat characters, look at my pictures from Dragon Con.
So just in that early time period, it reinvented the gaming genre. Not just fighting games, but the gaming genre as a whole, because
they're upping the violence, they're using digitized characters,
right?
They're also changing even the mainstream gameplay somewhat. Which is
good. Because of that, obviously there was going to be some flack.
Oh yeah.
Parents were not
Anytime
happy.
you do anything different, there's going to be flack.
No, parents were not happy.
Well, parents aren't supposed to happy with aren't supposed to be happy with video games.
But ultimately, it's one of those things where that could not, phase the tide.
You can't keep a good thing down.
Because, as time progressed, certain games, it's not like we had to have violence just for the sake of violence, but the fact that Mortal Kombat was such a huge success, the gaming industry as a whole decided, our audience can, in fact, handle this, and they not only can handle it, they want it. So let's incorporate new ways to actually give games.
Okay.
So in a lot of different games,
is there an example you can give where this kind of branched out from fighting games to other things?
Well, just the idea of on gore alone, let's say.
Okay.
Like Resident Evil.
All right.
Would probably owe all of everything it has to the fact that Mortal Kombat introduced the idea of blood and killing things.
Yeah.
Any zombie game you play,
probably not Plants vs. Zombies.
No, certainly not that. And like shooting games certainly got to the luxury of, hey, if a fighting game can have blood, we can have blood.
And then in, what was it, 97, 98, we got GoldenEye where the entire screen fills with blood every time you die.
So, things like blood no longer was taboo. It was now commonplace.
Yeah.
Things like being able to kill somebody instead of just knocking them off screen or knocking them out was introduced.
I have to say, it would have been kind of cool if when you kill your guy, he just bursts into a bunch of coins.
That would be pretty cool.
It's like, yeah, it's got the gore effect, but busting a guy in a bunch of coins would be pretty cool.
The gaming industry owes a debt of gratitude for Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Well, especially since it was successful and well liked by a lot of people. And hey, if it hadn't been successful, we wouldn't be talking about it.
Right. And of course, some of the games of note, I just want to briefly mention.
Because there were a lot.
There's a lot. There is quite a bit of games which may have been detrimental to it
You think
a little
so?
bit.
Just
Just 'cause-
almost a saturation of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because there's so, to be fair, they did try to branch out and try different things with it.
Yeah.
Which, anytime you have a franchise, you should do.
Yeah. And sometimes it's going to work and sometimes it doesn't, but just continue to try new things.
Right. So obviously the first 3 Mortal Kombat games were instant classics. They're still really fun to play.
Right.
And that's when they introduced the majority of their characters, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yeah.
Then you have, this is not in any particular order, Mortal Kombat versus DC.
My favorite one, and unfortunately one that I do not own, but I have gotten a chance to play, and, well, we're not going to talk about the outcome of that one.
Well, you're more on me. I haven't even played that yet.
Oh. Well, I will say it's a lot more difficult to use Batman than I thought. The fatalities. I saw these on YouTube before the game came out. The fatalities alone are worth it. The brutalities where you have Superman literally like pounding a guy into the ground like the guy is a nail and Superman is like pounding this nail into the ground. It's amazing. Batman has one where he just unleashes bats upon the guy. And they do brutalities for the DC character, or for the good guys.
Right.
And they do fatalities for the bad guys. Joker has one where he pulls out a gun and shoots it and the bang flag comes out. And then he pulls out a second gun and shoots you with it. And I believe he also has one where he uses the acid flower.
Nice.
But it's done well. It's just nice to see, hey, DC characters in a fighting game.
And you know why they were able to do that?
Because they're owned by the same company?
Yeah, because Midway went out of business. They went bankrupt and then got bought by Warner Brothers in 2009.
You know what? I'm glad that happened. Because I finally got to see DC characters in a fighting game.
In a good fighting game.
Well, it's not even that. I would have taken any fighting game. It was like, all I hear about it, Marvel vs. Capcom. Marvel. It's like, why is it Marvel gets all the fighting game love and DC has nothing? So to have this, Mortal Kombat, which was already a good, at least, you knew it was going to be a good game anyway. Mm-hmm. Might not have been as good as some of the others, but at least it was going to be a good fighting game. Combined with DC characters. God, this is amazing.
You're just like, win!
Yes. On both levels.
Shaolin Monks, which was an adventure game rather than just a straight-up fighting game.
Oh, that's the one that Marcus brought over, right?
Yeah, so that was the one Marcus and I were playing. Hi, Marcus.
Hi, Marcus.
And that was really interesting and quite a bit of fun. A little glitchy but I don't know if that was because it was my PlayStation or the game itself.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure, but it was a little glitchy.
It's all right. As long as how would you compare that one with the others? Since it was such a different type of gameplay.
Well, the fact that you're running around in 3D environments and you're instead of just just being in one spot, you get to move around different areas of the game and there's no rounds, you just keep fighting. But you can still do special moves and fatalities.
Oh, okay.
And there's boss battles and stuff like that. It was fun.
Okay.
I certainly enjoyed it. It's a different experience. It's always neat to have certain characters and you get to do different stuff with them. It was fun.
All right.
It's definitely worth playing.
Man, I do remember watching you guys play it and thinking, this doesn't seem like Mortal Kombat.
That's the thing, when you think Mortal Kombat, you think fighting game. That's why certain things were hard to do. Like, they had I forget the exact name of it, but it starred Sub-Zero.
Okay.
And he had his own, it was also like an adventure game, and he went on a quest.
I don't know why, but for some reason I had the image of Sub-Zero doing a talk show. Like, welcome to the Sub-Zero show. Today, our guest. It's like, I don't know why that popped in my head. That'd be funny, though.
He's blue and he's frosty. It's Sub-Zero! And the Sub-Zero show.
We should do that.
Today on the Sub-Zero show, Jack Frost.
Operation Redundancy is well in hand.
Indeed. I never played that game, so I honestly can't comment.
Today on the Sub-Zero show, Jack Frost and Mr. Freeze. Oh, I just thought of that. But I don't think they have Mr. Freeze in Mortal Kombat vs. DC. That would have been awesome. Sub-Zero versus Mr. Freeze. That would have been freaking sweet.
Yeah.
You just see the Freeze gun shoot out, and Sub-Zero shoots the Freeze, and just this mass of iceness coming together in the middle and just explodes, and they both die. And it's like double fatality.
Which they've never done, I don't think.
No, that would be awesome.
Of course, how would you do? I mean, well, what's his name? Cyrax, right?
Yeah.
He has self-destruct, so that's kind of like that's technically a double fatality.
Yeah. Not really sure how that one works.
Yet he's alive and ready for the next round once you move on. That's video game logic for you.
Well, of course. I mean, if guys can burst, if you can punch a guy and he bursts into coins, why can't a robot come back?
Right, and if someone uppercuts you through a roof or a solid concrete structure,
you should clearly be able to go up into another level.
And not be dead.
Yes.
The moment you hit concrete.
Or have an injury at all, for that matter.
Yeah. Forget about broken bones.
I always thought it would be cool if they can do one. Why can't they do two and like multiple ones? And you just do this really big uppercut and it like shoots you through like 3 or 4 levels. That would have been awesome.
It would have. And
there was also the one uppercut I love where he uppercuts you into that acid spikes.
Yeah, the acid pit.
Yeah, that was also cool.
And you can also uppercut them into spikes like on the ceiling.
That's well, I was merging the two together because I remembered spikes and acid. I forgot they were 2 different places. Acid spikes would be cooler, though. But the spikes on the ceiling, yes. We're going to uppercut you into that and then uppercut you into the acid.
How would acid spikes even work? It's like we've frozen them overnight. And when they're here, we take them out. It's like a cooking show for the saddest.
Well, yeah. I'm seeing like this mom in an apron with like her little daughter.
No, it's Cooking with Goro. Today on Cooking with Goro. Goro make chicken souffle and cake at same time.
See, there you go. There's your double feature, Watch the Sub-Zero show and then right after Cooking with Goro.
We're getting a whole network here.
I know.
It's Kombat TV. All your favorite characters. And now the Liu Kang gardening hour.
Oh dear God, no. It's like Cooking with Goro. I can deal with that. Sub-Zero show, sometimes entertaining. Why do I? Oh no, it wouldn't be gardening with Liu Kang. He would be on that. What's that show?
And now workout with Sonya Blade. I'd watch that.
Who wouldn't?
Exactly.
I think anyone in their right mind would love to watch that show.
Right, you got the exercise enthusiasts and watch it out, and then you just have all the guys like, she's pretty.
They'd be working out too.
Yeah. Enough said.
I'm glad you got that without me having to go any further. Well, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, what's that show? It's like on HTV. It's like where they go around and like redo houses and stuff and like redecorate.
Yeah.
Luke King doing that would be... Oh no, Johnny Cage.
We need a comedy.
Redecorate.
We need a comedy sitcom. Who would be in that?
Ooh, what's that? Shang Tsung.
Shang Tsung, okay.
Raiden.
All right, so you got the 2 serious guys. Now we need a wacky guy. Who would be wacky?
Who'd be wacky? I'm trying to remember all the characters. What was one?
Well, I'd say Johnny Cage, but
we've kind of already used him.
Baraka.
Yeah.
Baraka, did you eat the dog again? Yep.
Yeah, because because he's got the two swords, and like he can't control himself, and he's like constantly destroying the house. And Raiden, I can see Raiden and Shang Tsung bickering like a married couple.
Two gods and a baraka.
That is perfect.
One's the god of lightning, the other will take your soul, and the other will eat your dog.
Why is he eating a dog?
With giant teeth like that, why wouldn't he?
I suppose that's a good point. He's got giant teeth and the knife's ready to cut.
Right. That's why he owns the pizza place. Just throws it there.
That's what he would do on the show. He would work at a pizza place.
Baraka's Pizza.
The strange part is I'd probably buy that. It's like Baraka's Pizza. Do they deliver? Or do they?
Yes, you better tip or else. Just golden rule for Baraka's Pizza. Whatever's on the pizza, don't ask. You're better off not knowing. Hey, Warner Brother, give us a call. We're giving you gold here. I don't even know what we're talking about anymore.
Well, we're talking about Mortal Kombat.
This is true. Okay. And so the brand new game they released 2011.
Yeah, last
just
year.
Titled Mortal Kombat. So it was basically a reboot for the franchise.
Okay.
So they decided
kinda
to up the graphics substantially to modern times. But they also was like, okay, we've gone 3D, we've gone adventure game, we've gone all these other things. Let's go back to our roots.
Okay.
So let's make it back to the 2D-ish fighting game.
Well, the I shouldn't say 2D, but the side view.
Side view. So they, all the graphics are, brand spanking new for the times. But they've gone back to the system of how we are known and love. And they even brought back old stuff that we knew and loved, like the Acid Pit.
Nice. Well, one other thing I want to mention is I just recently got this for my iTouch. I think it's called Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically is, it's not the first game because it's got all the characters in it. It's got Cyrax and some of those guys. This is probably the first time you've seen it, actually.
Probably.
You can actually pick. You got Nightwolf, you got Jax, you got both Sub-Zeros, you got Scorpion, you got Cabal. You don't have Goro on here. You got Shang Tsung, you got Kung Lao. Who else?
Well, there's Stryker, there's Shiva, there's Katana.
Yeah, you know some of these guys.
Let's see, there's Reptile, Sonya Blade, Smoke.
And what's really cool is, while it's for your iTouch, it really is. It amazed me because when I first got this for my iTouch, and it was cheap. It was like $2.99.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally having that Super Nintendo game in the palm of my hand, but with better graphics.
Cool.
I mean, I will be honest. It does have a little bit of a cheat because it does have an S button that you can just do your special move without having to do anything fancy. And if you're not a good gamer like me, that's really good to have. But at the same time, it's nice because you can reset it so you can have the original keypad the way it was in the original game. And I just want a Scorpion. So yay for me.
Yay.
But it's really neat. I mean, like I said, it was like $2.99, and it's the full game and everything, and it's having that Mortal Kombat experience in the palm of your hand on the go when you need it, which is pretty nice when, I'm at work and I go on break and I'm like, I just got to get off some frustration.
Speaking of which, you want to know something kind of funny?
What's that?
The first Mortal Kombat game I owned was for the Game Gear.
Neat.
And it was Mortal Kombat 1, and it was one of the few games on the Game Gear I could actually beat.
I will say, this is the only Mortal Kombat game I've ever bought. The second game I own. I do actually have the Mortal Kombat. I take that back. When I bought my brother's PlayStation from him, because I'm cheap and I don't game a lot, so I'm just going to buy my brother's used systems from him.
Mm-hmm.
I bought his PlayStation from him when he upgraded to a PS2, and I actually was able to find the Mortal Kombat trilogy for like $7. So I bought that, and I have that, and I've played that multiple times, but I do like having this version because it's on the go, it was cheap, and it's great graphics.
And easy to play, it looks like.
Yeah, it's very easy to play, especially when you're not paying that much attention to it.
Should be an important thing for games. Should be pick it up and play it.
Yeah, and and as you saw, I mean, the graphics are considerably better than the first one, but it still had the same feel as the first one as well, which is kind of nice.
Well, before we go to round 2, fight. I do just want to say, not only does it have the games, it's actually spawned off a lot of different things, such as comic books, which I've never read any.
Me either, but I'd be curious to.
It's had card games since Pokemon.
Yeah.
The idea of card games is...
Oh, no, this was long before Pokemon. You had Magic the Gathering that was...
That's true. I forget about Magic.
Was out by then. And I mean, I remember... Star Wars has had a card game for a while. And any franchise worth its weight is going to have a card game. I'm sure there's this Batman and Spider-Man card game out there.
I wouldn't be surprised. And even a live-action tour at one point, which I was unaware of.
I want to say I saw something about that, but like briefly, because that sounds familiar for some reason.
But yeah, I kind of wish I would have seen that.
Yeah.
Because
unless it was like the Ninja Turtle tour.
This is true. But then again, it's Mortal Kombat, so I would expect it to be like a stunt show.
Like I said.
I would hope it was a stunt show.
Unless it was like the Ninja Turtle tour where you're like, Ninja Turtles are going to fight, and they get up there and sing.
Well, with that, it was clearly labeled as a concert tour.
Okay.
With Mortal Kombat, it was a live-action show. So, in my mind, that translates to stunt show.
Yeah.
And again, I hope it was a stunt show.
Well, we'll never know.
We'll never know. Round 2, fight! Movies!
And TV shows.
And TV shows. And
stuff.
Web series.
Yes.
Which we'll briefly mention. Or talk about a little bit. So, when something big comes along and grabs everybody's attention, and has the potential, as Mortal Kombat does, it makes sense for them to make a movie.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say it makes sense, but I'm sure that the movie studios are like, there's this property out now that's very popular. Let's look into it. They look into it and say, you know what? It's got a lot of characters that are very clearly, visually very clear. Like, there's no distinguishing between Scorpion and Sub-Zero, or no confusion between Scorpion and Sub-Zero.
Despite the fact that they're identically dressed.
The colors.
Exactly. Yes.
You have blue and yellow. That's what I mean. It's like you get a very clear visual difference as to what who the characters are. So like, okay, let's look at them. Oh, they're fighting. That's cinematically appealing. Let's move on. And they start looking.
But then it's sort of like, okay, any game worth its salt, fighting game anyway, will have some sort of a story. Even Street Fighter has a story.
Well,
now the thing is,
I know this was news to me because I just looked at Mortal Kombat as pick a guy, fight. To me, there was never any story.
Well, here's the thing. It's one of those things where, as it was back in the day, not so much as anymore, which is kind of disappointing. Every game came with a little instruction booklet, and anybody at that point, well, not everybody, but a lot of people, kids, the moment they got the instruction booklet, it's like, okay, what's this game about? Does it have a little story? What's in the instruction booklet? Any good game, I've noticed, has a pretty good instruction booklet to go with it. Like Legend of Zelda. If you just play the first Legend of Zelda game, it's just you start off in the world it is, and you find a wooden sword in a cave, and then you're kind of going on. You don't really have any clear direction if it's just the game by itself. That's why you have the instruction booklet, because it actually tells you the story. It actually tells you, hey, here's what you're attempting to do. Here's what those triangle things are. Here's the names of things, and go on and go to it.
I don't like to read.
And the thing is, it's not essential to the game, but it helps.
Oh no!
For some people, it helps to know what it is why you're doing it. Some people aren't content to just jump in and start fighting. I know you are, and certainly I was when I first played the game. But even in the game itself, where if you aren't playing it, like certain games will, even Zelda, like if you just not hit any buttons, it'll eventually scroll up and start giving you text.
Right.
Mortal Kombat was the same thing.
Okay.
Or if you didn't touch it for a little while, it would scroll away and give you character profiles and what's going on for the game, like the overall plot of the game. Okay. And the overall plot of the game, and again, because it's a fighting game, the focus was not on the plot.
Right.
The plot was there to help you just get yourself into the game.
Right.
And give yourself a reason to fight.
Kind of just for environment and ambiance.
Right. Plus, it's like, if you want to invest yourself in the character, if you want to play pretend.
Yeah.
You want to say, okay, I'm going to select Scorpion. Well, who is Scorpion? And what's his agenda? Because every little character had their own little agenda. Plus, like, okay, so I'm fighting in a tournament. What's my prize?
Okay.
What am I fighting for?
Yeah.
And that helps you along. Again, not essential to the game, but if you're playing pretend, playing along, it helps.
Okay.
Helps you get into it.
Yeah.
And so the plot of Mortal Kombat is thus.
Okay.
And the movie, actually, the first one, follows it pretty well.
Okay.
Where you have the realm of Earth.
Right.
And then you have this other place called Outworld, I believe it's called. And Outworld is run by a guy named Shao Kahn.
Okay.
And he is a guy who likes to conquer things. And he wants to conquer Earth. And the way it works out with Between Worlds is one place has to challenge
10
the other
rounds
place.
of Mortal Kombat.
Right.
Okay.
So like 10 consecutive tournaments or whatever.
Yeah. 10 consecutive
So it's
rounds of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, so pit your best against our best.
Right.
And if we beat you so many times, we win.
This is what they should do with politics. To heck with wars. If we got beef with another country, all right, we're gonna get our 10 best fighters. You get your 10 best fighters. We're gonna have Mortal Kombat. Think about how many lives you would save. Think about how much less time it would take, less money. It's so much easier to deal with. It's so much clearer to understand.
I thought we weren't doing any more political humor.
Sorry. I thought we weren't either. It just popped in there.
So you have the good guys of Earth trying to defend Earthrealm, but within that, you actually have different dynamics between the characters.
Okay.
It's because each one has his backstory. Like Liu Kang, he's clearly there to not only save Earth, but he also hates Shang Tsung for various reasons. I don't know if in the first game they actually brought in that old subplot the movie had, which we'll talk about. But regardless, he was training for Mortal Kombat for a long time because he knew it existed and he knew he had to save the Earth.
Right.
But then you have someone like Sonya, who's chasing Kano.
Right.
Who is a criminal.
Right.
He's there to earn money.
Right.
So he's kind of there on the bad guy side because, like, I don't care about Earth. I want to get rich, regardless of who wins.
Yeah.
Plus, I want to murder whoever I can because I'm a bad guy. And Sonya's chasing because she wants to stop him.
Right.
And you have Sub-Zero. Don't know much about him, but he's a ninja.
And he's cool.
Literally. But I'm
sorry, I didn't even think about that when I said it.
But then you have a guy like Scorpion who's wants revenge on Sub-Zero because he's apparently a Spectre. He's undead.
Which actually makes an interesting dynamic. Does that because I always thought Sub-Zero and Scorpion were on the same team.
No, they hated each other.
Yeah.
They were mortal enemies.
And they don't. That definitely does not. It's not. That's one thing that's not used in the film.
No, they do. There's like one line in the movie to explain why, and they do like. But we'll get to that.
Okay. I probably just missed that.
I mean, it's mentioned once and then never again.
Okay.
Plus, they don't talk, so it's not like
that's true.
So it's not like they're having conversations like, "Hey, remember when you hated me? Yeah, remember when you killed me?" So then you have Raiden.
Right.
Who technically shouldn't be in Mortal Kombat because he's a god and not immortal.
True.
But whatever. They has like, hey, it's a guy with a cool hat and shoots lightning. We like this guy, therefore he's in it.
Wait, you're talking about the game or the movie?
So kind of both.
Well, because the way
not in the movie, but the game itself, I'm talking more of.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say because in the way that they handled the character in the movie made sense.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like in the game,
which oddly enough, that's kind of weird, where the movie can make more sense than the game.
Right. At least on some points.
At least on this. I'm not saying it was the case, but then again, it was a kind of a weird premise to go with from the get-go.
Right. So the basic idea of you're trying to save the world from annihilation/invasion.
Yeah.
But all these characters have their own agenda. That's the overall plot.
Right.
And so when you try to adapt it for that in a movie, you're like, okay, we have a workable plot we can use. We have workable characters we can use. We have a pretty well-made setting to go with it. So, and also for the movie that we can get into.
Yeah.
It starred Robin Shou, I believe his last name is S-H-O-U? Shao. Sorry, Robin.
Well, I'm just going to assume it's Shao. That's how it's spelled.
And he's Liu Kang. And initially he does not want to be in the tournament because he's like, it's all full of whatever.
Yeah.
But then his brother is killed by the
Shang
evil
Tsung.
Shang Tsung,
Yes.
played by some guy. He's
one of those guys. He's been in a lot of stuff. I know he was in Memoirs of a Geisha. He pops up every now and then.
I'm sure he
see him
does.
in movies, but we don't know his name. There's a lot of actors like that where they're in so much stuff and you're like, I know that guy. I don't know his name.
Yeah. So, and like he's the main star of the movie,
Yeah.
and it's a hero's journey type of movie
Yes.
where he has to overcome all these obstacles, better himself, overcome.
He meets some allies. He meets an older mentor. In this case, Raiden, which I actually do like how they handle that character. He is very much the old wise mentor to Liu Kang, and he does not actually get into a fight, oddly enough, because they're using him that role.
Though he does intervene in one.
He does, but he doesn't actually get into a fisticuffs fight.
No. Which would have been a shame because the actor playing him would have been pretty good at it.
Yeah, but then they have to throw in there can be only one line.
Yeah. So, the basic plot of the game is the basic plot of the movie, where
Right.
they're trying to defend Earth from Outworld.
Right.
And then you have characters like Johnny Cage,
Right.
who is in the tournament because he wants to prove himself that he's not just a phony actor.
Right.
But he also wants to be like, hey, I am an actor and I want to be a star, therefore, me.
Yeah.
You have Sonya Blade, who is still chasing Kano because Kano murdered her partner.
Right.
So she's not only wants to bring a criminal to justice, she also has a vendetta.
And the nice thing I liked about her character was her character flaw was that her pride.
Mm-hmm.
She felt that she could handle any situation without help. And what I really liked about that movie was, even though it was Mortal Kombat and that sort of stuff, you had more going in there than people gave it credit for. You have the fact that your three main characters, Liu Kang, Sonya, and Johnny Cage, each had a very clear character flaw that they had to overcome in order to save the world.
Which they blatantly said in the movie.
Which is fine. At least they admitted to it. At least they held to it. It didn't divert from that.
Yeah.
Like some movies have done. They stayed on topic. I'm glad they stayed on topic. That's good.
Yeah. And so in the context of the movie, because Sub-Zero and Scorpion are in it,
Right.
and the fights they're in are pretty cool.
Yes.
It's in the point where the three of them are on the boat going to wherever island this tournament's taking place.
Right.
And Shao Kahn, not Shao Kahn,
Shang Tsung?
Shang Tsung.
Right.
All these S's are throwing me off. Shang Tsung, he introduces, he goes, Scorpion and Sub-Zero, bitterest of enemies, but slaves under my control. So he's controlling them. So
Okay, that's how they explain it.
yeah, that's how they get around the fact that, hey, we want Sub-Zero and Scorpion. They're clearly going to be on the bad guy side, but everyone kind of knows that they hate each other.
Well, none of that, but if you try to explain it in the context of the film, the way it was set up, it would have been a little bit complex.
Right.
A little bit too much for the film has, like I said, has more going for it than people give it credit for, but at the same time, it's not too much.
Right.
And I think if they were afraid that if we tried to bring that aspect in and just weigh the film down even more and just get too out of control.
Right. I mean, to their credit, I bet they were thinking, people who are coming to this movie probably know enough about Mortal Kombat to know Scorpion got killed by Sub-Zero, they hate each other, all this and that, so we don't need to bother actually filming that and explaining it.
Yeah.
But we do need to at least put in why we have them not fighting each other.
Yeah.
Which, admittedly, would have been cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And subsequent versions have done that.
Yes.
Which we'll get into.
Which we will get into. So, that's... Overall, I think what we need to get to, before we talk about it anymore, is the fact that a lot of people bash this movie.
Yeah.
Quite a bit, in fact.
In fact, the Nostalgia Critic, we were talking about this prior, the Nostalgia Critic does a rather interesting review where he comments on how he feels the fight scenes are pointless. And I'm like, dude, A, it's a movie called Mortal Kombat based on a fighting game. I want to see some fights. Second of all, they're fighting because they're in a tournament. Did you not pay attention to what was going on in the movie? Did you not pay attention to the plot of the movie? It's about people going to a tournament to fight. Therefore, they fight. I'm not really understanding where he's getting this misconception from about why they're fighting.
I don't know.
Anyway, that's my critique on the Nostalgia Critic for this week. But yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is, I never hated the film.
Oh no, I don't hate the film either. It's totally watchable.
Yeah.
Is it a great movie? No.
No.
Is it a horrible movie?
No.
No. It's a fun movie to watch.
It's better than Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot better than Batman and Robin.
It is better than that. I mean, it has a clear story.
It has a clear tone.
You know, the fights that we do see are, pretty well done.
Yeah.
Some of the special effects.
Well, they don't. Well, you can't say they're bad. They just don't hold up as well.
Yeah, like
the CG for the animal thing that comes out of
for the spear
for Scorpion. It's clearly rough CG at the time.
Also, the CG for Reptile is clearly that's if you got to look at anything in that movie and say that should probably not have been done. You could have done something a little different. That was one of them.
Yeah. But, other than that, overall, the movie holds up. I've watched it within the last year, and it's like, this is one of those movies where you can sit down, you can watch it, and just enjoy it for what it is, because you're getting fight scenes with cool characters.
And that's really all it needs to be.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be anything more than that. That's a movie where you can put it on, sit down, and just let it happen.
Yeah, yeah. Don't put any thought to. I mean, this is not Inception where you have to pay attention every minute. If there's a part you're not typically fond of, just get up and go to the bathroom or whatever, and go get something to eat. But enjoy the fight scenes. Enjoy seeing Bridget Nielsen in a somewhat skimpy outfit at certain times. The woman playing Sonya Blade.
Yeah.
As well as the other female actors, they're all very attractive in this film. Root for Liu Kang to win. And that's was one thing is, I will say, give these guys credit, even though it's kind of hokey in its premise and it's not the best of movies. You can root for the characters to win, at least a little bit,
Mm-hmm. I mean, there are certainly corny aspects. I mean, some of the stuff Johnny Cage says, sometimes you're like, oh, Johnny, stop talking.
I don't know.
Although I will admit, when he goes, nice outfit, near the end, that is pretty damn funny.
I always thought Johnny Cage was funny. For me, it was never too much.
Well, I didn't say he was. I didn't say all the time. I'm just saying sometimes.
I don't know. Well, it's just one of those things. Like, I guess I don't know if I just enjoy low mentality humor better or something or what. But
no, the thing
there are times where I'm just like, yeah, you think it's corny, but I think it's funny.
That's fine.
I don't mean you necessarily. I just mean like in general.
I get you. So. I will admit, as a kid, when I had this on VHS, because I don't actually think I have this on DVD.
So I'm amazed you owned it as a kid on VHS. Because going back, I wasn't allowed to own the movie or own the game or play the game. In fact, the funny thing is, I didn't even know the movie came out because I knew nothing about Mortal Kombat till I met Hunter. Because I didn't play games, so why would I know about a game if I don't play them? Well, so Hunter tells me this is very true to Hunter. He says, this is like when we were first meeting each other, like somewhere in 7th grade. Because when did the movie come out? 95.
The movie came out in 95.
Okay.
And made $122 million?
Well, that's pretty good for that time, especially a movie of that caliber. I mean, it was run-of-the-mill movie. You don't expect it. We're so used to big number movies like Dark Knight and even Spider-Man and Transformers and stuff like that, that $122 million in 95, that's really good business, actually.
I also believe, I could be wrong on this, but it may be one of the first really successful video game movies.
Oh, I'm sure it was, because it actually stayed close to the game versus Mario Brothers, as we clearly have discovered.
And versus Street Fighter.
Yeah, well, there's no streets and no fighting.
And barely any fighting.
I mean, really?
I was like...
Because you know what? In Mortal Kombat, we had mortals and we had combat. Enough said.
Yeah. I mean, in Street Fighter, you were so desperate to not have a fight break out, you made a guy like Sagat a retired businessman.
Wait, what?
That'll be for topic another time.
Yeah. Anyway, back to topic at hand.
Yeah.
So when the movie did come out, I was completely unaware of it. I had just met Hunter, I guess in early of 95. Because we didn't really know each other till late 7th grade, early 8th grade. And he was telling me about them. He's like, yeah, I saw it. It was great. Everybody died. Which, if you ever... My friend Hunter has this... In his mind, how good a movie is directly proportional to how many people die in it.
So the higher the body count, the happier he is.
Yes. Which is why, of all the Star Wars movies, he loves Episode 3 the most. Because you have the most deaths. Because for some reason, watching his Death Star blow up doesn't really count. It's like he's not seeing the deaths happen.
If I didn't know him, I would say this is a really disturbed person.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I was just getting to know him at the time, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird, but you seem cool enough. I'll continue to hang out with you.
Yeah, well, not only did I own the games, I went and saw the movie, so in theaters.
Yeah. Well, you also knew about it.
Yes.
I
was dialed in on that.
I was completely unaware. I remember, the first time I saw the movie was on VHS. We were sitting there watching, and I was like, and I think it was actually probably the movie that got me interested in the game.
I probably saw it twice now I think about it, because I went with a friend once the first time, and then I went with my dad the second time.
Okay. Do you remember your dad's reaction to it?
He enjoyed it.
Okay. That's good.
My dad's easy to please.
Well, that's true, but I didn't know if he'd be like, oh, that was a bit too much for you, or...
No, what's actually kind of funny is, like, he actually went out and bought the sequel out of one of those $5 bins and things, and I was like, I wish I was there to stop him.
Like, no! Save yourself, Dad!
Like, please, I don't want to own this one.
Because when a movie comes out...
But I do want to say, I don't want to miss this point. When I was a kid and had this on VHS, my favorite scene of that entire movie was when Liu Kang is like, there's something here. And he looks at the almost invisible reptile.
Right.
And the reptile spits in his face. And he goes, ah! And then he runs away. I remember finding that part so damn funny that I would rewind it over and over just to go, ah! Ah!
Wow. You were very dialed in.
I just thought that was so funny.
No, that's fine. I just wow, I don't really remember that part.
So it's one of those things where I can never, ever hate that movie. One, because
I remember all the fight scenes. They were really cool. And
also, by the way, how could you hate a movie where you got Johnny Cage who goes up and hits the guys in the balls, and then goes, that was $500 sunglasses, then knocks him off a cliff.
Yeah.
That was an awesome part in that movie.
It was. The thing is, Johnny Cage had a cool attitude about him. Yeah, he had his ego trips, but he was entertaining.
The only one big negative I could say about the movie, other than what other people will say, other than the CG and other what other people will say, like the acting and blah, 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 is, to me, just because at the time, it's how I really knew the game, there didn't seem to be enough special moves to my taste. Like they were there, like what Sub-Zero could do, like he had that vortex thing going. Yeah. That was pretty cool. The fact that Scorpion actually took off his head and had the skull part.
I did the toasty on Johnny Cage.
That was pretty darn cool, but no one else did it. And that was to me, a little disappointing. Like at one point, Liu Kang does do the bicycle kick, which on one hand, pretty cool.
Well, see, for me, it never made sense.
I know, but the thing is, like if I understand it now as a film person, that in adaptation you have to make sacrifices, and the idea of, okay, if we want to make it so that it's mortals, they can't all be shooting fireballs and all these silly things, so we have to tone it down. Right. So there's going to be some. There's going to be some superhuman aspect, because we do have Goro after all. Right. Who isn't a human? But you try
to balance it so that your fantasy characters can do these things, but your human characters have to be more restrained.
Yes.
That makes sense.
So, you do actually have Raiden as a lightning god, or thunder god, or whatever he is. And he does actually do some lightning at certain points. Yeah. So
played awesomely by Christopher Lambert.
Yeah, so to me that was the only negative of that movie.
But now you at least understand why, so you can probably say, okay, well, I understand it. I probably won't judge it quite as harshly.
And the nice thing is, it doesn't hurt the movie either, that it's not there.
Right. It's like, it would have been really cool to have it there, but it's not necessary.
Right, and they have just enough to keep it interesting. Yeah. The sequel, however.
Yeah, because, when a film comes out and it is successful, especially at the box office, and, regardless of whether people like it or not now, it was well-received by the fans.
Plus, they left it at the ending to have a sequel.
Right. And it was set up well. So they're going to make a sequel. Well,
in 1997, the Mortal Kombat Annihilation came out.
Yes. I did not see this one in theaters.
I did see it in theaters.
Because that summer I was more concerned with Batman. which may or may not have been a better choice on my part.
Well,
at least that film looked better than this one.
yeah.
Okay. We know there's a lot of stuff we can rant about it. Is there anything positive you can say about Mortal Kombat Annihilation?
That's a tough one.
Because I've seen the film. We could spend all night talking about how bad the movie is.
Yeah.
But rather than just go on that, I say, you know what?
So let's start with something positive first.
Well, no, I'm saying let's just say if we can find one positive thing and then say, okay, that's the only positive thing in this movie, that covers our ground.
I don't know, because even like even certain things like saying it looked good doesn't help.
Because it didn't look that good, quite honestly.
It didn't look that good, to be honest with you.
The first thing I noticed that was like, because Hunter and I, we rented it on VHS.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't go to the theaters. I do remember we rented it on a VHS. And, well, I think he had rented it and watched it, and I came over the next day and we watched it together. Well, the first thing that struck me is, why is Raiden played by a different guy?
Why is Johnny Cage played by a different guy?
I didn't notice that at first, but the first thing I noticed was, why is Raiden played by a different guy? And it was, why does Raiden have a haircut? Because he goes from having long hair to like a buzz cut. And you're like, well, why is that? I mean, we're not even talking on plot or anything because I had no concept of plot or character at the time. This was my pre-U days, before I was enlightened. I kind of feel like when it comes to movies, like I had my baptism when I met you.
Wow.
Like, I did not understand so much about movies until I met you.
So I'm Father Drew of the Order of Cinema?
Yes. That's perfect. That's a perfect... I'm going to make you a little nameplate that says that, actually. Father Drew of the Order of the Cinema. I like that, actually. It's got a nice ring to it.
It's not blasphemous at all.
Really isn't.
All right.
We're doing it in fun.
I know. I understand.
But it was the fact that I noticed you have Raiden being played by a different actor.
The fact that at this point in your life you were able to notice these things probably also says quite a bit. No offense to you.
Oh, no. I take no offense to that. That's kind of what I'm pointing out, is if I'm noticing this without having a good dial-in as to plot and characters and that sort of thing, dialogue writing, it's like there's already something going on with this movie. Like with Batman and Robin, why does Mr. Freeze not have a dome over his head? That's not how it should be. So I'm noticing something that's off from what's the norm. Mm-hmm. So if I'm noticing the fact that Raiden's played by a different actor and has his hair cut differently, something's wrong already. And that's honestly all I remember about the movie. There's that, and I remember Jack's got he was supposed to be robotic arms, but it looked like he just had these giant shiny sleeves. And I do remember that they tried to put Cyrax in there.
Yeah.
I was never keen on the idea of a robot ninja. To me, I just didn't like it. I'm sorry.
Well, I think it was Smoke.
Either way. It's like, I know a lot of people are like, but robots are cool and ninjas are cool, so robot ninjas should be awesome. I'm like, I don't like robot ninjas. I just don't like the idea of it for some reason. It's like, but ninjas are people, and they should be able to move silently, and robots can't move silently, and I'm confused on this. I don't like this.
Well, I'm still trying to strain for like a positive for this movie. Because it's like, all right.
We had probably the best ballet scene in any movie.
Oh, we're going to get to that.
Let's go ahead and get to it now. We don't have to, there is no plot or order or anything here. Let's just jump right in.
All right. I mean, we don't just say. I mean, Raiden gets into a fight with 3 ninjas, I guess.
Who knuckle up?
Oh, smack you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself on that.
That's all right. Who later on to meet Hulk Hogan.
Now I'm getting an idea of Hulk Hogan in a Mortal Kombat movie.
That would be terrible.
I don't know how it could get any worse.
It would be even worse ballet.
Okay, now I have the idea of Hulk Hogan in a tutu.
He was in a tutu once.
Okay, that's probably why I have that mental image.
He was in Mr. Nanny.
Oh, that's right. Although I will say that's not as bad as seeing my dad in a tutu.
Yeah, because at least, no offense to your dad, Hulk Hogan was in probably a lot better shape.
At the time, Dad was in the tutu. I think he was in football, so I think he's okay. But still, seeing my dad dressed up as a ballerina, it's like, what's wrong with you?
So Raiden's fighting these ninjas.
Yes.
But it's not so much a fight as an interpretive dance. Because I
You
swear...
sound like you're quoting somebody. Nostalgia Critic. Go check it out. He actually does a really, really funny review of this movie.
Yeah.
And the sad part is, while I could disagree with him on the first movie, I can't disagree with him on this one.
Pretty much. He's right on.
Yeah, it's like, sorry, I can't disagree with you on any of these points.
Because, like, it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but, like, does he even throw a punch in that quote-unquote fight?
Yeah.
Because it's like, if he does, I missed it.
And the funny thing is, the Nostalgia Critic actually plays, I think, music from Swan Lake behind the scene, and you're like, this is not a fight. This is definitely ballet. It makes you wonder what they were thinking.
Nothing.
Yeah.
They were thinking, let's make something quick and put a bunch of characters in and done.
Who knows? And the worst part is you can't even say, well, they're about the merchandise. There was no merchandise from the movie. At least if they had some merchandise, that might have made some money.
They did have action figures. Not from the movie, though.
Yeah. They actually still have action figures.
Well, there you go. But I think that's more based on the fact that they had a game.
Well, yeah, but they actually have a big pack with like 9 figures in them.
Oh, that's cool.
It's pretty cool. Kind of expensive, though. But they're cool.
So I think it's more of, what could we have actually done to fix this movie? I know we haven't really talked much about the plot.
Start by smacking the person who wrote it upside the head.
Yeah, so the idea, let's try to spend a little time on what this movie was about, which for some reason, which they tried to explain. I think the part of the problem was, at this point...
Before we head on to tackling what this movie is about, let's back up.
Okay.
At the very end of the first movie.
Yes.
Okay. Liu Kang, through his efforts and along with Johnny Cage and Sonya, they have... he was able to beat Shang Tsung.
Yes.
And so they won Mortal Kombat. They've saved Earth.
Yes.
But then, Shao Kahn decides to pull an Andrew Jackson.
And invades anyway.
Yeah. And you're like, wait. At that point, I'm going, didn't you just say, aren't the rules that you made up?
Well, he didn't make them up, but...
Okay. But I was just under the impression that there was no way he could actually enter the realm of Earth unless he won 10 straight rounds of Mortal Kombat.
Right.
Whoever made up these rules had to have, there must have been a failsafe there.
Right.
So he was able to invade anyway. So that leads you into, and they leave it as a cliffhanger of, and I will say from a cinematic standpoint, it was pretty cool to see, all your main characters poised, ready to fight, as the evil emperor is going to be invading. So like, okay, you ready for it?
And their main problem was they were trying to base it too much on the game this time.
Okay.
Because at this point, Mortal Kombat 3 was out. Mm-hmm. And the idea of Mortal Kombat 3 was that Shao Kahn had successfully invaded Earth because he made it so that his wife was resurrected on Earth. And so because that was his wife, he can go and claim her. But in the process of claiming her, he's like, hey, while I'm here, let's invade it.
Okay.
And so they tried to use that storyline in the movie itself.
And so that became the overall storyline as opposed to focusing on...
That was sort of why it's there. It was not really part of the storyline of the movie.
Okay.
The storyline, the way it worked out was, in the movie, the Shao Kahn's father, I guess, is one of the elder gods of the multiple universes.
Okay.
And Shao Kahn and Raiden happen to be brothers in this movie.
Okay.
Not in the game, I don't think.
I don't remember.
And I'm pretty sure not. But so their father, who sides on the side of evil, he's like, look, I'm bending the rules for you, so I made your wife reappear here. And so that's how he's supposed to be in the Earth, and that's how he's able to go in and claim it, and bending the rules of Mortal Kombat. So everything that they fought for in the first movie, thrown out the window.
Okay. So let's just stop there for a second.
Okay.
Because what I have figured out so far is that the basic premise of the movie is throw out all the fights and make it more like a soap opera.
I guess.
That's what it sounds like.
There was that.
So, I am okay. I would be okay with the idea of the wife being resurrected on Earth, had that been part of the plot. Had the simple idea of, okay, let's the cliffhanger at the end of 1 is Shao Kahn is going to invade anyway, but let's kind of bring people up to speed. Let's show, say in your first act, the wife being resurrected. What are our main characters? What's going on with Liu Kang, Johnny Cage, and Sonya? Let's continue their stories from where we left off, what they learned, and that sort of thing. And bring it into the beginning of this movie, and let's take that first act, deal them, and his wife resurrected. Okay, then we move on to now he's invaded, and now they have to fight again. Because it's Mortal Kombat, we should have mortals and combat.
Right.
Makes sense, right?
Right.
Okay.
They didn't really do that.
Well,
so in the first couple minutes of the movie, they kill Johnny Cage.
Wait, what? Why?
Just because.
Well, that was stupid.
So immediately, it was. And again,
how did he die?
He gets his neck snapped by Shao Kahn. It's literally like he throws a kick, he moves, snaps his neck. And that was that. And of course, he's played by a different actor, and so was Sonya.
I can see why he was played by a different actor. Yeah, the actor playing him, that played him in the first one, but I'm not doing this for 2 seconds of screen time.
Because they picked the movie basically right where they left off from the first movie. And so the whole idea of, wait, huh? Wife? What's going on here?
Yeah.
All that is briefly explained and poorly explained, if at all. And I think the main problem, other than the fact that, and that's supposed to be Katana's mother, but then you look at the two and you're like...
You don't look a thing like her.
It's not even that, but what? Did you give birth at 2?
Yeah. You're like the same age. We're not really buying this. Oh, you got that white string in your hair. That makes it all better? No.
I think...
Although, I have to say...
Yeah?
These things can't happen in real life. My friend Mike, his girlfriend is, probably mid-late 30s. Mm-hmm. Her daughter is 19, but they look like sisters.
I don't disagree with that can happen, but it's just the fact that it was so poorly done.
Oh no, I'm not detracting from that at all. I'm just saying, with the mother-daughter thing, they can look that close in age, and still be mother-daughter.
I think plot aside, which was not as good, it could have been fixed and workable.
I did think of a positive.
Yes.
Okay. And this is just from what I did see on the Nostalgic Critic review and briefing. I did like the fact that if we look at the first movie as being the hero's journey, the same way that Episode 4, New Hope, was the hero's journey, it did seem that there was, and this I'm really stretching here, but somewhat of a parallel between Luke going to train with Yoda and Liu Kang going to train with Nightwolf.
Oh, yeah.
It seems that there was at least an attempt at trying to develop his training and his character a little bit, and bringing in Nightwolf and bringing him as more of that continuing mentor the same way that Raiden was.
I thought it was positive as well.
Okay.
It had a really good soundtrack. I actually own the soundtrack. I actually like it.
Well, the thing is, it's kind of like Superman Returns, where the soundtrack is better than the movie. So I've listened to that soundtrack multiple times. I've only seen that movie 2, maybe 3 times. Because they do own it on DVD, because it was one of those things like, hey, it's Superman, I'm going to own this. Plus, I wanted the special features on that stuff. I think I watched the movie once I bought it, and I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this again. But anyway, back to Mortal Kombat.
I think the main problem with the movie, and this is, I think, a really constructive criticism, not just a pointing at it and blame it criticism.
Right, okay. Which is much better, much more thoughtful.
They tried to bring in too many characters.
Do you think they tried to bring in 2 characters just in general, or too many characters at once?
Both.
Okay.
They brought in far too many, to the point where, they had them and the ones that they brought in, they either had no point, and the ones that you're like, okay, that's a character I want to see, and they get killed instantly.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
So the fact that...
So they didn't pace themselves.
They really didn't. And the thing is, the characters that you really wanted to learn more about, the ones that you don't know nothing about even in the game.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a pretty cool character in the game. Let's see what they can do in this. And they either do nothing, or you see them briefly and they never again. And other things, you're like, well, could you give a reason why this character's here?
Yeah.
Did they just show up for no reason?
Yeah.
So you
Like
brought up...
Motaro.
Right. Well, Motaro, he makes sense because he's part of his army, but the thing is, like, Shiva, she's part of the army. She's there for, 5 seconds of the movie, and she gets squished. She does nothing. Rain, also there. He has a line or two.
I don't even remember him.
Exactly. Rain, he's there for, less than a couple seconds, and he gets killed immediately. You never see him in fight once. You never see Shiva in a fight once. Which sucks, because she would have been a good fight.
Yeah.
For example, you brought up the cyborg ninja, and Smoke was who they fought.
Okay.
They never once bring up any rhyme or reason why he's a cyborg ninja.
Yeah.
They never once really delve into anything to do with Sub-Zero other than the fact that, the Sub-Zero you killed was my brother. And nothing else is said. And the only scene he was in was that scene. Scorpion is there briefly for, less than a second.
Scorpion's in it?
Exactly. He's there, he teleports, grabs someone, teleports away, you never see him again.
Huh?
Exactly. So it's the fact that they're throwing in characters just to have them there. And to me, that cheapens it.
Not only cheapens it just makes it stupid. And I don't mean stupid like...
And Sector is in it as well, I think. Or
that's
Cyrus,
probably
one of the two.
Yeah.
Like there's the yellow robot. Or was it red? I think it's yellow.
I remember the red one for some reason.
I think the yellow one was in it. It
just shows
Sector.
you it's like...
He fights Jax and Sonya.
And we should keep in mind this was at a time where they literally thought that they could put anything together and people would go see it. It seems strange for us now when we've had for the past decade
they still put stuff together just to see people see it.
They do, but it's far less now than it used to be. And it's because you have had filmmakers that say, okay, I really like the concept of certain things and I want to do it justice. And they do it and people like it. And they're like, oh, you can actually do more than just fluff and entertainment value. You can have more to it and that sort of thing. But certainly, it was thrown together.
Oh, yes.
I'm often leery of a sequel that is released only 2 years after a predecessor.
Yeah,
in fact, I was leery of Batman and Robin just because of the 2-year gap instead of a 3-year gap.
Yeah, and in this movie, you really can tell that it was rush it together because we got to keep it going while, hey, the games are still cooking.
Yeah.
Hey, look, all these characters are in it. Let's put them in it.
Yeah.
And who cares about plot? Who cares about acting? Who cares about decent writing? Because, damn, are the lines in this movie bad. Some of it is bad.
I'm really glad that I did see the movie once. I saw this Nostalgia Critics review. I don't remember a single thing about the movie. Except for, like I said, Raiden was played by a different actor and had a short haircut, and Jax had these silver-looking sleeves.
And they danced instead of fought.
I don't even I remember that from the review, but that's about it. I was going to say, the only movie that has actually been good with a 2-year gap was Spider-Man 2.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time.
That you can think of anyway.
Yeah.
So, really, that's...
But the thing is, so we had a first movie come out. That was successful. Had a second movie up. Well, how did that one do with the box office? We know the fans and the critics didn't really like it.
51.2 million.
That's a significantly
big
lower number. More than half, or less than half, of what the original film made. So they said, well, there's people that want to see live-action Mortal Kombat, but clearly the movie's just not, we're doing too much. Well, a year later, in 98, they made a live-action TV show. It's called Mortal Kombat Conquest. And I actually did happen to see at least one, I take it back, at least 2 episodes. And I just remember just finding it one day. Like I was flipping through, I can't say that I was flipping through the channels because the TV I had, it actually had a dial. Because I had one of my parents' old TVs that they gave me from, and you know what? It was one of those things, it was cool. Because you actually had to turn the knob to get the different channels. It was pretty sweet. Just because it was my TV. So I'm like dialing through the channels. I'm like, holy crap. What's that? And I started watching this is Mortal Kombat. Is this the movie? I started watching wait, this is a TV show. It's I'm going to keep watching. So I'm watching through it, and it turns out that instead of having your main characters of Liu Kang, Johnny Cage, and Sonya, that actually takes place many, many years before the events of the original film. You being much familiar with the game, you have the character of Kung Lao, who was one of the ancestors of Liu Kang.
Okay.
Okay, so they actually used that character, and he was a monk, and he did have a couple of I don't want to say sidekicks, but allies, and they did bring in Sub-Zero and Scorpion and some of the other characters, and it was the same tone as the original film. Like, you felt like this was just a spin-off, which it was, just without the crappiness of the second one. And it was pretty well done, but unfortunately, I guess it didn't have the right kind of following. I do remember it being, like, I never knew exactly when it was on TV and that sort of thing. Could have faced the same problems as Freakazoid in the second season, where messing around with time frames and that sort of thing. But it only had one season. It did have a full season, though. It was a full 22-episode season, which was pretty decent. And, it's one of those things where I kind of, if I can find it on DVD, I'm going to pick it up. Because it was worthwhile.
I remember watching a animated show from Mortal Kombat. For the life of me, I can't remember exactly what they called it.
I don't remember an animated.
It's supposed to take place after Annihilation.
Okay. So they were trying different stuff out, which is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's one of those things. You and I like Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
We enjoy the concept of it.
Indeed.
We both, for the most part, enjoy the first film.
Yeah.
Okay? But at the same time, it's still not quite Mortal Kombat.
Right.
Well, thankfully, other people had the same idea. And there was a guy whose name was, where's that at? Kevin Tancharoen. He decided, he's like, I like Mortal Kombat, my friends like Mortal Kombat, but Hollywood's just not putting out quality Mortal Kombat. We need to show them how it's done. Which is, you know what, honestly, it's like Sebastian the Crab said. If you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. I'm sorry, but that's how I remember it, okay? That's right. I just slammed down a Disney reference in a Mortal Kombat podcast. But anyway, moving on. So he and his production company, I guess, because this was professional.
Imagine Disney and Mortal Kombat. Ha! Get over here, Goofy! Ha!
That was really good Mickey, actually.
Well, here, okay.
Your Mickey was actually better than your Goofy. I was totally not expecting that.
Really? I thought that was a lousy Mickey.
I was thoroughly impressed. I was also incredibly shocked. I was not expecting that to come out. Now you completely derailed me.
Sorry.
But anyway, well, he made a pitch film. I can't call it a pitch trailer because it actually has a plot line and everything. But he made it. It was called Mortal Kombat Legacy. And basically he takes a serious, as realistic as he can tone with the characters. It starts off with Michael J. White, the guy who played Gamble in The Dark Knight, as Jax.
That's cool.
Who is not a detective, but I think like a sergeant or something. He's a higher up, or maybe a lieutenant, higher up in the police force. And he's interrogating this man. And they're talking about different characters. And they make reference to Cabal, who's a doctor, who surgically implants... Oh no, Baraka. Baraka.
Yeah.
He surgically implants the blades into his arms, and various things. And they talk about Reptile, who was born with this rare skin disease, which is actually real and very creepy.
Yes,
where it's like your eyes are inside out.
Didn't they also base it like on what Killer Croc has, which is a real disease?
No, this was a different disease.
Oh, okay.
Killer Croc was based upon the disease where it's like a not so much a plating of the skin, but where the skin appears, it's very dry and rough and appears reptilian.
Yeah.
The disease they used for Reptile was, I forget what it's called, but it's very disgusting looking, where it's actually a plating, where the skin is in plates.
Oh, okay.
And hardened plates, and looks like scales. And the eyes, the person's eyes are literally inside out. And it's gross.
Yeah.
But they actually get into like cannibalism with the character and the codename Reptile. And I'm like, okay, that's a little bit too far, but I like the fact that you're taking this realistic direction.
They're making it gritty.
Yeah, they're making it gritty. This is grim and gritty. And you're like,
And he likes it.
and they're like, and I like this, but we're not fighting yet. This doesn't really feel like Mortal Kombat. Well, then it's revealed at the end of the pitch film, which is only, I think, 3 or 4 minutes long, that the man who Jax is interrogating is Scorpion. And he wants him to go into this tournament. It's like this underground tournament, and where all this stuff's going to happen, led by this man named Shang Tsung. And they're like, okay, so the fight's coming. Well, guess what? The studios got wind of this, and you're like, we like this. Except, we're not really sure, because of the performance of our last film, how well this would do. Let's do a test. Tell you what, we'll give you 9 episodes to make on the web, and if that's successful, we'll move on. So they did. You can actually go online. You can go to Mashima.com, or you can find it on YouTube. You can just search for Mortal Kombat Legacy. There's all 9 full episodes up. The Sub-Zero Scorpion fights are amazing. Because the way they handled Scorpion was, the spear does not come out of his hand. It is a spear on a rope.
Okay.
And they use the traditional fighting method. It's really cool and really well done. And the really cool part is they're fighting like in the snow, like in Japan, and they're speaking Japanese with the subtitles. And so you hear the Japanese, and you just see, "Get over here," and you're like, "This is awesome." And they do actually get into Katana and Jade and their storyline. That happens outside of the realm, and that's done in a very interesting way with like some real basic Japanese, and I don't want to say Japanese animation, but like if you recall the puppet shows or the shadow puppets, it's kind of reminiscent of that.
Okay.
And they do work that in with the live action. It's just really an interesting mixture cinematically how it's done. But because those 9 episodes were well received and were successful, 2013 is slated to have a release for the next Mortal Kombat film.
Nice. Which I'll go see.
Yeah, I will be. We will definitely be going to see that. And it most likely will be in the tone of the web series. Where it's clearly Mortal Kombat. It's not as grim and gritty as the pitch film. Hopefully, I don't think because if they're going to if they want to get as many people to see this, PG-13 is the rating to go. A lot of times I see comments online of people like, "Oh, it should be rated R. It's going to be better." It's like, yes, but a movie studio wants people to go see their film. That was one of the biggest problems with Watchmen. It wasn't the material; it was the fact that it was rated R. So you had a lot of people wanting to go see it that were under the age of 17 and could not get in.
Gotcha. So,
if you want people to see your movie, make it PG-13 at the most. That's why Batman films will always be PG-13. Regardless of how much you want to see a lot of blood, guts, and gore and that sort of thing and violence, it's just not going to happen because the movie companies want you to go see their film.
I wonder if it'll be a reboot or hopefully not a sequel.
Oh, no. It'll be a reboot. There's no doubt there.
I'm hoping so.
I think like I said, because the web series was so successful, I think they're going to be like, people like this tone. It's consistent. It doesn't detract from what the core aspects that made the game worthwhile. At the same time, we can do a lot of new stuff with it and really flesh things out. And they're not pulling in a bunch of characters just to have them in there. They're actually taking their time because each episode of the web series is about 10 minutes long. So that's 90 minutes. So you get an hour and a half right there of Mortal Kombat. That's live action. And the what was it? The Mortal Kombat Conquest live action show. 22 episodes, about 40 minutes long. So that's a good 10 hours or so of live action Mortal Kombat.
Thing is, it can be done, and it can be done well.
Yes. So it's just a matter of getting the right people. Oh, well, the reason I said it is because they're actually, what's his name? Kevin Petcherone, who did the web series. They've already got him as the director.
Cool.
For the movie. They're bringing him on as that. So it's going to be done in the same tone.
I briefly saw that Robin Chow may be in it in some capacity.
That'd be cool.
I don't know if he's going to reprise his role as Liu Kang.
Yeah. Because I'm trying to think. They didn't bring Liu Kang into it. And yet. They did bring Johnny Cage and was rather interesting. Like he was kind of being ousted because action stars weren't. And they actually took a realistic tone where they said he was a little bit younger, a little bit feistier than the Johnny Cage we got in the movie, but he was kind of that. He was trying to be an action star, but people weren't into action stars because they realized, we can get an actor and make them an action star. like in the case of Brad Pitt
Yeah.
and Christian Bale and some of those guys, just beef an actor up, and soon to be Henry Cavill. Well, he kind of is from The Immortals, but he will be definitely with Superman. And so they kind of take a tone with it, but then so basically he doesn't like that idea and beats up his manager. But it was, it's done well, and it's done in a way it's like, okay, this isn't cheesy, it's not over the top, but it's still in the spirit of Mortal Kombat. You still have fantastical characters, but as serious tone as you can make it.
I should really go watch this.
Yes, you should, actually.
Why I have it is beyond me.
Because it's done really well.
Because I do remember seeing the trailer for it, and I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, like I said, they pull back a little bit from the gruesome aspect of it, but it's still grim and gritty. And it's still taken seriously and still done well. And you watch this, and you'll be like, wow, I've completely forgotten about Annihilation.
You know what I forgot to mention?
What's that?
How they like to put Easter eggs in their games.
Okay.
And one of the things that they decided to include as a joke was they combined two people's names backwards to create a character.
Okay.
So you had Ed Boon and John Tobias.
Noob Saibot.
Yeah. That's where that character came from.
Okay. I always wondered where that came from. That always felt weird.
So that's why that's there. And then they included Dan as the toasty guy to get him in there.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty cool that they worked their people in. How did John Vogel get worked in?
I don't think he is.
Oh, okay.
At least not in a major capacity.
It's always cool.
Indeed. I'm looking forward to... And the thing is also to support why, another Mortal Kombat movie would be a feasible option is the fact that their latest game did really well.
Yeah, and the thing
was really
is,
well received.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, I was playing Mortal Kombat vs. TC a couple of weeks ago. We were at a friend's house, and the fact that people are still aware of Mortal Kombat. There's enough of an awareness there.
That and gaming as a whole is more mainstream than it was.
Yeah.
In the early 90s.
Oh yeah.
Early to late 90s. So the idea, because people in the late 90s are adults now.
Yeah.
And
they have kids.
And they have kids, and they still play games.
Yeah.
So they're still buying Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. So it makes sense, and that's a much more larger demographic now than it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And as a whole, the video game demographic is a lot larger.
Oh yeah. So in a weird way, but in a good way.
Yeah, so it makes sense, and I'm looking forward to it.
As am I.
I'm also looking forward to playing Mortal Kombat again.
Yes.
I do want to play the new game.
Of course. Well, why wouldn't we?
I know.
It's Mortal Kombat.
I know. I want to uppercut you and go, Dusty! Again.
I don't really want to get uppercutted.
Well, not in real life.
I'm talking about in the game.
Oh, well.
I'd like to be able to hold my own and beat you.
I challenge you to Mortal Kombat! Later. I don't know. Next week.
Okay. I think I can do that.
I'd be a horrible character. It's I challenge you. Tomorrow. What do you mean? I'm using my procrastination ability. Tomorrow. Go away.
The procrastinator.
Get over here. I don't want to.
He just shrugs his shoulder and goes, tomorrow. And just walks off.
So, Matt, before we go,
yes.
Do you have a favorite character?
For me, it's a tie between Sub-Zero and Scorpion. It's just one of those things.
Well, they look cool.
They do. Well, it's not just the look. They do look cool, no doubt. But with Sub-Zero, it's being able to create ice. Since I'm not a fan of heat,
yeah,
being able to create ice would be really cool.
But then you have Scorpion who breathes fire. It's
not even so much that. It's the fact that he's got that spear. And his dialogue is so awesome. It's the most simple dialogue, but seriously, it's the best voice. Get over here!
It's all right, that's a tough guy.
Yeah. Makes you wonder. Use Sub-Zero in real life. Or not Sub-Zero. Scorpion in real life. I'm trying to think of a good example.
Pass the milk!
Yeah. Change the channel! I'll have the soup! I'm going to work! Bye! Oh, man, that's making me think about that sitcom even more. He'd be like he'd be almost like the Kramer.
Yeah. Instead of the wacky neighbor, he's just that really loud neighbor.
Yes. Yeah, what did we say? Raiden, Shang Tsung, and
Baraka.
And Baraka is in one apartment, and like Scorpion lives across the hall.
And every time he's like, "Howdy ho, neighbor!"
I think I'm not sure.
Did you just break?
Yeah. Because you just combined Seinfeld, Home Improvement, and Mortal Kombat.
That would be awesome. You know, they could probably make one episode and get immediately canceled, but I would watch it.
Yes.
Just to be like, wow, this is a train wreck. And I'm on board.
We've got to make this happen. This is really easy to do, too.
My sides hurt now.
Oh,
Again, Warner Brothers, call us.
yes.
We're giving you gold here. I mean, granted, you own the property already, but hey.
I mean, come on.
Whew.
Who did we say was cooking?
Goro.
Cooking with Goro, the Sub-Zero show, in a sitcom. I mean, come on.
Two gods and a baraka.
Two guys in a baraka. I like that. I really do like that title.
You know, and then as it's going on, because we said he's in a pizza shop, so come down to Baraka's Pizza Shop. Baraka's Pizza Shop. Don't ask what's on the pizza in the pizza shop. Baraka's Pizza Shop. With Scorpion and Baraka.
Oh, Katana could be the waitress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way to bring her in.
There you go. She could be the waitress who secretly dreams of being an actress.
And her twin sister Melita, who secretly wishes to devour everything.
Wait, does that mean she's a fat one?
No, it's just
That just kind of doesn't work for me.
no, because like in the how like in the game she like Katana has like if
Oh,
she takes
yeah.
off the mask she's normal, but Katana she's got all the fangs.
Yeah.
She's more like a monster.
They actually worked that into Legacy.
Oh, they did?
Yes.
Cool. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, I don't want to say anything. They work on it really cool. Whew.
I always liked Reptile. I don't
So
know
did
why.
Hunter.
I don't know why. I just liked his moves, I think,
Yeah,
because they were unique.
it's very true.
That and he was like he was one of the first secret characters.
Oh, he was?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was him and Smoke were I think were the first two that were the part of the Easter eggs that they threw in.
Okay. What about, like, I know we have those three that are basically the same type of ninja look, but with different colors.
Mm-hmm.
What about, what's the other two? Rain and, who's the guy with the red?
Ermac.
Okay. What are those guys like?
Well,
Because I always kind of felt like they were just copies.
that's kind of the problem with a lot of earlier, and still in certain cases today, games where you have what's called a palette swap.
Right.
Where, like, for a good example would be, again, going back to Street Fighter,
Mm-hmm.
where you literally have Ryu and Ken, the exact same character, just all they did was change the colors of one gi and then slightly change the facial features, and hey, you have two different characters. So for Mortal Kombat, it was, hey, we have this character, let's just change the colors.
Which I'm fine with, but at least with Sub-Zero, Scorpion, and Reptile, they're distinct enough, even the look aside.
Mm-hmm.
But with Rain and Ermac, I didn't feel like they were different enough,
Well, Rain,
regardless of the look.
Rain has enough difference so that he's notably different. Like his, his moves are somewhat similar. Like he does this and lightning comes down.
Okay.
And he shoots a different kind of energy ball. Ermac is actually also considered an early Easter egg because in one of the first games they had some sort of code. It's not really a code, but it was like a bunch of text on screen that kind of spelled his name.
Okay.
And so the fans initially speculated, that must be a secret character. It wasn't. But then there was so much speculation that the makers were like, let's just make it a character. And so they named it Ermac.
Oh, okay.
So that's the only reason why he's there.
So there was So with Ermac, there was no real intent for him to be there.
No, it was more like, hey, the fans kind of created an Ermac. Let's give him an Ermac, and then he ended up being in the movie.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, but he was one of the last guys they fought in Annihilation. He didn't have any lines, and that was the first time he saw him. He's like, oh, it's Ermac, and he says nothing, and I don't see much of him in the fight, and he gets killed. So whatever. and he does no special moves in the movie. So whatever.
Well, that's a shame.
But at least he's there.
Maybe in the review.
I will say this about that movie.
Yes.
Some of the costumes, not all of them, but some of the costumes were good.
Okay.
The ninjas at least looked okay.
Yeah.
Sindel didn't look okay. Jax didn't look okay.
No, Silver Sleeves doesn't work for me.
Raiden didn't look okay.
No, Raiden didn't look like Raiden from the first one.
No. And it's like, how can you really comment on someone like Liu Kang and Sonya where they're just wearing clothes?
Yeah.
So it's like, well, yeah, he's wearing pants. We're happy. He's clothed. We can be okay with this.
Yes. It's very true.
Of course, now I'm just thinking, I really want to go watch Baraka's Bakery.
Wait, I thought it was Baraka's Pizza Shop.
Yeah, Baraka's Pizza Shop.
I like Baraka's Pizza Shop. Funny. What if it's a pizza shop and a bakery? He's slicing bread with one arm and slicing pizza with another.
And they have a cross episode where Goro comes in and helps. And then after that episode, they let Shiva in there as a second cook.
I never understood it. Why didn't just Shiva and Goro hook up?
Well, because in both continuities, Goro got killed.
Oh, okay. I suppose that's true.
I mean, he does show up in later games just because people wanted to play as Goro. But for the most part, he gets killed in the first movie, and he gets killed in the first game.
That'd be a reason. Usually getting killed stops things from happening.
Yeah. I do want to say a little funny quote that from someone better than I made up.
Okay.
But it's true, because he was making fun of fighting games.
Okay.
And it's mostly concerning the look and feel for, every fighting game has overpowered bosses, and any female character will be half as tough as the males and half as dressed.
It's very true.
Because when you look at some of their quote-unquote costumes, you're like, in a real fight, that probably wouldn't help you much, other than the fact that when things start moving, I'm going to no longer pay attention to your arms.
It's very true. Now, I will say, as being a guy, as much as I do enjoy the look of some of those outfits, as a costume person, as someone who knows their period clothing quite well, it's like, yeah, you need more stuff than that on there if you're going to fight.
Which
is part of my problem with a lot of, not science fiction, well, yeah, science fiction stuff, but a lot of, what's it called? Kind of like Conan, where it's like the barbarians and that sort of stuff. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to really disagree with the cleavage and the lack of clothing, but at the same time, I'm just not buying this as a female warrior if she's wearing that little amount of clothing. Yeah. Going to battle in a bikini, whether it's metal or not, is not going to help you.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, look, like in a lot of fighting games, but in Mortal Kombat is like you have a little bit of cloth going down like this.
Yes.
If you move slightly fast to the left or right, you're out.
Yeah.
And it's like, and while we're grateful you're out, it's like, it's not going to help you much.
No. There's a reason they make sports bras, is to keep them up. Keep them from moving so that you can actually move. How did we end up that on? I don't know. But anyway.
I have no idea.
On that note, I say, finish him!
Scream.
Ah!
Freaktality.
Freaks out.
Freaks in, freaks out.
The content of the Freakacast is copyright to Andrew Felson and Matthew Puetz. All characters belong to their respective owners. A full list of music used will be provided on the website. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Copyright 2012.